Welcome to the Everybody Matters podcast, a show dedicated to the idea that when organizations care enough to show their people that who they are and what they do matter, they unlock the only business idea with truly unlimited potential. I'm Brent Stewart, your host. This podcast is an outreach of Barry-Wehmiller. Don't forget to connect with us on the web at Barry-Wehmiller.com, on Twitter at Barry-Wehmiller, on Facebook and LinkedIn, and check out our blog, trulyhumanleadership.com. Pete Carlson is the president of our BW Container Systems company, based in Romeoville, Illinois. Pete is representative of a lot of people in industrial manufacturing. He's had many different experiences, worn many different hats, and risen through the ranks to a leadership position. A few months ago, Pete spoke about his journey to team members of our St. Louis office. Pete talked about things that he learned from his father, who was a business owner, and many other lessons he's learned in public and private companies. He spoke about the importance of connecting to the people he leads on a personal face-to-face level. He spoke about his faith and how it relates to leadership. And on this week's episode of the Everybody Matters podcast, we want to share with you an edited version of Pete's talk. You'll get to hear his insight into what it's like to be a truly human leader on the front lines of industrial manufacturing.
So I'll talk a little bit. I got pictures of our team up here. I want to talk just a little bit about our company, about Container Systems. We have 4 manufacturing locations: Chicago, Denver, Lynchburg, Virginia, and the UK. We also have 2 centers with sales, application support here in St. Louis, as well as in Baltimore. We have 522 amazing people. We are focused in a few key areas of technology and handling, which any of your pop cans or beer cans, the lids on there are what we call ends, and a lot of our technology is tied to handling that. We're also involved in palletizing, depalletizing, and conveyance. And really our goal is we strive to provide innovative solutions for our clients. I put our team up there because I feel very blessed that this team has given me the opportunity to earn their trust. And certainly I think a big part of my success has been this team and the support they've given me and the confidence that they've given me as a leader to continue to grow. And I also put them up there because when I think about some of the largest accomplishments, in my personal life, I think just recently over the last 8 months, designing a vision for our organization with this team was certainly right up there with the highlights of my career. And I think it was done as a team as well as we've ever done it, and certainly blessed to have that team to help me do that. So, short recap of my career. I worked, as I mentioned, my dad owned a heating business, so I worked for him on and off for the summers, and then when I graduated college, I actually went and worked full-time for him for about 3 years. And it was a very meaningful time in my career because I was able to experience many roles. I worked for a period of time as a service technician, actually being out in the field, servicing residential, commercial HVAC units, which gave me a real appreciation for that role and what it takes. Spent some time on installation crews, doing large construction projects. Spent some time in selling, some finance roles, office management. So it really was a great opportunity for me to get a well-rounded look at a business in total. Provided me some great opportunities to do that. It also was helpful for me in helping define what I thought I wanted to do, but also the things I maybe didn't want to do. When you get a chance to spend time doing things and you think about, do I want to do this for the rest of my career, or do I want to pursue something else? So that was invaluable learning doing those roles for me. So after those 3 years, I really wanted to grow. I wanted to do more. My dad had a business that was fairly small, and he was happy with it, and it was in a position that he was comfortable with, but I was young and energetic, and I wanted to go take on the world, see if there's anything I could do with my learning that I had in school. And supply chain always interested me. When I was in school, I graduated with a business degree, but I had a minor in finance, and then I also had emphasis on supply chain. And so it was just something I wanted to pursue and see what was out there. So I spent the next 8 years with 3 different organizations, and those experiences were really valuable. So I worked for organizations that were between 20 million and 12 billion. So I really got to get a feel for different size organizations and how they operate. Spent a lot of time in the supply chain in those organizations. In 2003, I came to Fleetwood at the time, Barry-Wehmiller Container Systems now, as a supply chain director. At the time, Fleetwood was a one-location facility, and they were looking for someone to lead their procurement efforts and pull that team together. So it was a great opportunity for me, certainly to come to an organization that had an opportunity to grow in was very meaningful, and then I was able to bring some of the experiences from those other organizations with me as well. I've been blessed with tremendous opportunities. Joe alluded to some of them within Container Systems. In 2007, I was given the opportunity to work with our parts team, our customer service teams, and that was a great learning for me, going from an area of the business that you're basically being a steward of the company's money and trying to spend that wisely and support the operational teams to actually generating revenue and responsible for achieving goals that provide value contribution to the organization. So that was a great learning for me. 2007 was also a great year. I was blessed to be promoted to vice president that year. Very meaningful event for me and my family out in Aspen, in which I had no idea it was coming. And it was just a great evening, and I was blessed to share that with Mike Morton, who's our VP of Finance and Supply Chain today. Mike and I were able to do that at the same time, and just a really meaningful event and very, very energizing, and certainly feel very blessed to have that opportunity. In 2011, I was given the opportunity to work with Aftermarket. A couple of years later, to work with our Case Palin Robotics team. And then in 2015 was a very interesting year. As Scott knows, Scott and Neil and I sat down and we spent some time looking at our business and some things that we thought we could align better, and agreed on some different focus areas. So I was given an opportunity to work with a piece of our new equipment sales team, and it was about 2 months into that, and really enjoying the challenge and the opportunity and the learning. And then I got a call that really changed my day pretty dramatically from Bob. And Bob had talked to me previously about future opportunities maybe in my career, and I'd always been very honored and humbled by that. But I thought that was something that was maybe down the road, and I thought when you think about Barry-Wehmiller and all the places it is and all the places it's going, is perhaps that's a life decision at some point in time that myself and the family got to think about, and where that would be and what it would mean. So I just never seen it coming, and we had this great leader in Neil McConaughey, who had worked so hard for so many years to achieve where he was at. So our team was really in a good place. We had a lot of good momentum. So I was certainly shocked when Bob had called me and told me the story of Neil. And then he asked, I told people, I'm not sure if he even asked me. I don't think there was an opening for a yes or no. I remember calling my wife after and saying, hey, guess what I just did? But just a tremendous opportunity to lead BWCS, and certainly it's been an interesting year so far, and really blessed to have a great team to work with there. So I feel blessed. I certainly would give God the thanks and praise for all the wonderful things that have happened to me and the tremendous opportunities I've been provided. I do have that belief that all good things come from Him. And I've also had a lot of great mentors along the way. A lot of people have influenced me in a positive way, and really grateful, especially at Barry-Wehmiller, to have the opportunities to learn from them. So some of the lessons learned I thought I'd share with you. So some of the things I learned, I mentioned time I spent in some other organizations prior to Barry-Wehmiller Container Systems. Some of the things that were meaningful for me is in smaller companies, I was allowed to wear a lot of hats. And it was very much, when you get to see what other areas of the organization do, it really helps you as a leader to understand a broader perspective of things. So I'm grateful for that opportunity I had. I also seen experienced a lot of leadership in which leaders attempted to manage me. And it kind of brings to light what we're trying to do in this organization, and share the message of truly human leadership, and why it's so important to share it beyond our walls. Because there are many people, as I was in those organizations, experiencing a very frustrating journey in working with leaders, and they just don't know. They haven't been taught how to lead. They don't understand what it means and how to see people behind the interaction. So that experience also gave me a great perspective for really how great our organization is and where we're at. And I think, reflecting back on that, it's really been meaningful when I think back to those times and what it was like, and what we're attempting to build here is really unique. Certainly experienced some companies as they grew. Some of them really lost that family feeling. They had a leader that was very dynamic and growing. But as they grew, they seemed to lose some of that. And I think that's another reason why what we're doing is so important when you look at our culture and how we've grown it and how it's really been a grassroots effort, and it's allowed it to be sustained. So I think other organizations certainly struggle with that as they grow. The opportunity to work for public companies was certainly an interesting experience. Very short-term focused, and it was all about the quarter or maybe the half year, and everything else was sacrificed for the benefit of that. And so there wasn't necessarily, at least in my experiences, always great strategies to what's best for the long-term goals of the organization, of the people. Really focused on how do we perform just this quarter and achieve our goals and keep shareholders happy. So certainly experienced that. So these are my parents, and I thought I'd share with you some lessons learned. Certainly very meaningful people in my life. Some lessons that I've learned from my father along the way. My dad worked many jobs before he really found his passion. He did many different things, and then when he decided he wanted to run his own business and own his own heating business, certainly was a place he was happy with. But that business struggled. It bounced between good and bad times. I seen him have to deal with that on a regular basis, and there were a lot of weeks where he didn't take a paycheck because he needed to pay suppliers or he needed to pay his employees. So really a stressful thing running a small business, and I seen him experience that. But he always put his employees first. One of the things when I think about my dad is he's a very trusting person. He always trusted people. And when I was younger, I used to question that a lot. I used to think, why are you so trusting? You get taken advantage of in a lot of cases by your employees, even by some of your family. And the older I've gotten, what I've realized is he really had it right. He trusted people. He believed in the best in people. He believed that they had good intentions. And even if it impacted him in a negative way, he always trusted first. And that's something as I've gotten older, I've come to learn that he certainly had it right. So transitioning a little bit into some key defining moments for me as I reflected on what are some of the points in time that have helped define leadership for me and some things I've learned along with some others throughout my journey. And 2009 is on the top of the list there because that point in time was a large challenge for BW Container Systems. Our business model had trouble sustaining our organization. It was a time of difficulty and certainly personal frustration that our team wasn't winning, and it was a challenge for the organization. But the lesson that came out of that was I was really impacted positively by Bob during that time, because I remember him coming into our business for a visit, and we were all obviously not feeling like we were in a good place. And I think in many companies, when you're in that situation, everyone kind of fears for, okay, what's next for my future? What's going to happen to me? Part of the leadership of a team that's not doing what it needs to do. And Bob was just confident. He very much coached us on strategy and getting the business right, but he was very supportive and very patient and saying, you guys have the time to get this right. And for me, that was very meaningful because it did two things. It really motivated me to want to make Container Systems the best it possibly could be when you have a leader that supports you in your most difficult times. And the other thing that it helped teach me is we have times in our organizations and we have people in organizations that can struggle and they go through difficult times, and that was just a great example of we need to be patient. We need to give people the right coaching, the right guidance to develop the right strategy, but we really need to provide that same patience that we were given the opportunity. So really critical moment for us that helped define certainly my journey as a leader. I have leadership fundamentals up here because that was a very interesting journey for me. I wanted to take the course because I had several team members that were in it, and I really want to understand how can I lead them better if I understand what this is and what it's about. So that's kind of what I was thinking going into it. And prior to that, I felt like as a leader I did all the right things, I exhibited the right traits, right behaviors, but I don't know that I was necessarily seeing the people behind my interactions. Probably more so seeing people as a part of the puzzle of the success of the organization or my success. And so, leadership fundamentals, when you learn about that deepest sense of right in your interactions. And for me, personally, it was very aligned with my faith, so it just clicked and was a meaningful moment and meaningful week for me. Faith is a large part of what guides me. I try to do my best each day to start my day with prayer and thanksgiving, and thanking God for the blessings at home and at work. And when I think about how God feels about every person on the planet, regardless of their origin, their location, their social status, their past history, it's very aligned with our challenge as leaders in business. Every person has a purpose, both in the world and in business, and it's our great responsibility to help them accomplish those things. And so I also know, like my faith, I'm not perfect in practicing it, right? And I always got to dust myself off and start out again, just like leadership and our leadership journey. But we know what that goal is, and we know what the mission is. And really, leadership fundamentals was very meaningful for me in trying to look at the people behind my interactions, not just the interaction. So a little bit about, as I thought about leadership and trying to define maybe how would I define effective leadership. Really, as I thought about it, to me, it really boils down to it's the result of earning trust. Effective leadership really, I think, is tied to earning trust. And as I thought about in my personal journey, a couple things that are critical in earning that trust. The two things that came to mind for me are, number one, team members have to know that you genuinely care about them in order to earn that trust. And you have to spend time with them to earn that trust, understanding their needs, their desires, their concerns, truly listening with them. Certainly that's a way that you're able to gain that trust, and they know that you care about them and who they are. And then I think the second piece of earning that trust that's really critical is you have to be able to design a better future. You have to be competent in that as a leader, because people want to understand, where are they going, where can they go? Am I with an organization or a leadership team that wants to take it to a better place and has my best interest in mind? So I think as I thought about effective leadership, that's really, to me, at the heart of that is earning that trust as a leader. I don't really view my role as just another role in the organization. I don't feel I'm more valuable than anyone else in the organization. I don't feel that titles equate to value. There's so many wonderful people in our teams and our organizations that do great things every day, and that's just how I try to approach it. We're all a team really working together. And I really serve a group of people that support the rest of the organization. That's how I view my role as a leader. A couple elements, I guess, of my approach as I thought about my leadership style, and this was where the reflection was really helpful, because I thought back to, and one of the things I enjoy doing is walking around. I get antsy when I'm in my office too long because I feel like I'm not connected or I don't know what's going on. So I try to spend a lot of time walking around, engaging, interacting with our team members. And as I thought about this, early in my procurement role, one of the first companies I worked for outside the family business, I was in a purchasing role, and I kept buying all these items that came up on the computer, and there was a number attached to them, and I was just sitting there, I'm like, what is this thing? I don't know, should I be paying $100 for it or $1,000 for it? I have to see what this is. So I spent a large part of my time in my early procurement role back and forth to the stockroom. I said, can I look at this thing? Can I understand its value a little better by looking at understanding what it is and having a meaningful dialogue with suppliers on it? So the thought was, could I better understand the value if I see it in person? I think the same lesson applies to leadership. How do I know my team? How do I know the value they hope to gain by their time in our organization? Unless I'm with them and spending time with them and really understanding their desires and needs. It's very well aligned also with, Abraham Lincoln was big on this principle as well. He called it seeking casual contact. And he thought that was, in a lot of cases, even more meaningful than formal meetings. It was a way for him to gain reliable, up-to-date information by seeking contact from across the organization. So one thing I've tried to do in my new role is early on is I try to spend my first couple hours in any facility just engaging with everyone in the organization. And it's been a great source of learning for me. You really get a great chance to meet people, to understand exactly what they're working on. You also get a chance to share a little bit of our story with them on where we're going, because it is a challenge to connect the whole organization. And I found that those first couple hours of any visit really end up being the most meaningful of my 2 or 3 days there, depending on where I'm at. Just getting to know our people and how wonderful they are. So walking around has been a big part of what I've learned as a leader, and really given me the opportunity to learn from people and learn more about our organization. I think if you rely too much only on meetings or formal gatherings or a leadership team only, it's tough to be connected. And it's certainly our leaders all are at different points of their journey and their abilities to do that, but it's something that we stress and we try to do more and more of as a team to stay connected with our organizations. I believe another key element is being positive and engaging everyone. I think it's really important to be positive as a leader and keep people energized about the future and what's possible and where we're at as an organization, where we can be and what we can do, and engage everyone in the organization. A little bit, I've got on their motivation to lead, so I reflected a little bit on what are maybe the key things that motivate me as a leader on a daily basis. And I think first and foremost our people and our future. I talked about walking around and talking to people. When you do that, it's very motivating because you really want to work for them and create a better future for them. And you hear them talk about really their interest is, where are we going? What are we going to be? Is there a better future? Am I going to have work? For how long? Is it going to be here? And so, giving that connection really is motivating for the team members. And as I mentioned, we went through certainly a very rough patch in 2009, and that's motivating. We don't ever want to repeat that as a business or as leaders. We want our people to have a better future. Personally, for me, telling me something cannot be achieved is very motivating. I'm just competitive that way. It's a little bit of, it gets me energized to want to make it happen and find a path and a way to do it. Certainly something that has served me well in certain areas of the business over my career. Certainly a better future for my family and an opportunity for them to pursue their dreams is very motivating for me as a father and a husband. And really being the best example I can be. Something that someday people will look up to, certainly my kids, and be a good example, not only business but at home, and setting that example and learning each day and trying to be better each day. So I've learned quite a bit in my new role just in the last year, and the chance to lead BW Container Systems. Another thing that we've started doing more consistently is listening sessions. And as I mentioned, with the individual interactions across our organization, these listening sessions have just been a great source of listening to the team. I mean, what we find is they've been an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I only talk for 10 minutes of it, which is great. It's truly an opportunity once you get the ball rolling to listen to your people, and it's just a great source of inspiration, and it's also a great source of how can we continue to make our organization better and provide for our people what they need. So some leadership input as I thought about what are the key things I would share with anyone. So again, I'm very new in my journey, but I guess words of advice or words of wisdom just from my perspective that I've learned from others and from my experiences is learn every single day, learn. If you don't know, ask the questions. I think, great leaders are great not because they know everything, but because they have a willingness to learn. And there are so many great sources of information across our organizations, and I think as a leader, you have to be open to learn and want to learn every day to make yourself stronger. Spend time, I've talked about this a little bit, but spend time investing in your team members across the organization. There's really no better place to spend your time, in my opinion. listen, truly listen to people, and that's something certainly that we learn in communication skills, and sometimes harder practiced than it is said. And I find that when I do that well, I feel like very connected with the organization. But certainly that's something that we're continuing to learn to do as leaders. But listening is very important. Perform. I think performance is really key as a leader, right? I mean, we've got a great organization, and we've learned some great things about truly human leadership, and I'm learning certainly in my journey about how to be more effective as a leader. But performance is key too. We have to have an organization that performs well. And as a leader, you want to help the team drive that performance wherever you can and achieve the goals. I think another key piece of advice I would offer is surround yourself with people that don't think like you do. I think that a diversity of thoughts and experiences and viewpoints is very critical for a leader, and really gives you an opportunity to think about things other than maybe just your experiences or just your style or just your way of doing things. And we're blessed to have that on our team at Container Systems for sure. One of the things that we talk about quite a bit as well in our organization as we're looking at decisions we have to make, and maybe in a lot of cases there's conflicting priorities depending on what's going on in that particular situation. One of the things that we work to do is really have a thought process of what's best for the organization first, then what's best for the team, and then what's best for the individual. And I think if you get that in the wrong order, you can really make some bad decisions as an organization. And something we try to do when we're faced with those situations of having to make difficult decisions that impact the organization, keep that framework in mind of organization first, team second, individual third. I think the other thing is really, I got strategy and tactics. Really, to be successful, you have to have both. And I think we've learned that in our business over the last 5 or 6 years is you can't just have one. You need to have both. You have a great strategy for your organization, a great vision of what you want to achieve, but then also how are you going to get there? What are the initiatives you're going to put in place? How are you going to achieve that as a team? So I think setting those is very important for any organization. Another I guess, thing that I've learned in word of wisdom, don't ever get comfortable. Keep finding creative ways to get better and be ahead of your competition. We've always got to be learning as leaders what we can do better and how we can strive to be better and create a better organization for our team members.
If you'd like to learn more about BW Container Systems and their business, go to bwcontainersystems.com. You can also follow them on LinkedIn and Facebook and on Twitter at BWContainerSYS. If you'd like to find out more about Bob Chapman and Raj Sisodio's book, Everybody Matters, The Extraordinary Power of Caring for Your People Like Family, go to everybodymattersbook.com. For updates on the book, this podcast, to get a lot of great content and insight, don't forget to connect with us on the web at Barry-Wehmiller.com, on Twitter at Barry-Wehmiller, on Facebook and LinkedIn, and check out our blog, trulyhumanleadership.com. I'm Brent Stewart. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, Everybody Matters is the only business idea with truly unlimited potential.